Your senior minister is saying he wants a reimbursement, but we don't know how much he has spent on his. How much should they refund you?
It's not little, including my bodyguards' allowances and all this sort of thing. It's not little, but what I'm putting, as I've just heard, as a by the way, as I said, my money is my money, but my job is also my job. I had to advance my money on the hope that my employer, which is government and which is you people, is there a way I can get reimbursement of the money which I've spent generally?
Maybe you tell us how much you have spent on this fuel.
No, I will give you the details here. I will give you a minute. If I can get a reimbursement and where you know the money is. No, please remember. Chairman, I beg you.
We shall look into those matters.
No, Chairman, I beg you. It's a serious matter.
I think if you establish how much, we can see how to handle it.
Maintain my job.
It's a serious matter indeed.
For the last 3-4 months, I've been buying the fuel from my own pocket.
Sure. On this matter and this matter, I tried to advise her, and she told me it's not my job.
Yeah. What you are saying about, I'm now talking generally. You get what I'm telling you.
Regarding the issues you have had us.
The one I have had here, like the engineer. I want to tell you the truth. This man, I see him in the corridors of the ministry. But when I want to talk about something, I go to the PS directly. And I say, what is happening about this? And as you said, Chairman, another thing I wanted to tell you of what you are leading to, of saying that I went up on the second issue I wanted to talk about, that I went up to the media. I went to the media, I was clearly heard. I said all these things talked about are matters of the accounting officer. And the accounting, I said, let him be interviewed and be said, let him show the furniture, let him show everything. I was not trying to plead for him, as you have said.
What, was furniture supplied?
That's what I'm saying. When I on the interview, you heard me saying, I say, if he has got those things he has, then there is nothing wrong.
But has furniture ever been supplied to the ministry?
I have no idea. I have no idea. And then again about the cars, you have just said that I said I had a car.
Is the car you're driving new?
Chairman, I've been in many cars, I've bought so many cars, and I don't want to complain. They gave me a car, a government car, to do a job, and I sat in it and I started doing government work. The only thing which is mentioned, which I've just discovered today, is about what they call a fuel card. I want to tell you, if I am allowed to say things like this, you know, I feel sometimes
you are allowed and you are protected.
I'm almost taking government to court or to law, because I've been spending my own money.
Yet people
now I've heard so many people have been taking in millions and so. I'm telling you, I've been using my own money.
So
I'm just compiling all this. You know, I'm a man who knows accountability about things. I want to ask government to pay me this money, regardless of anything, because I cannot be charged to do a job.
Chair.
Let him finish.
That's just to let him remember. The same engineer you have been meeting in the corridor, he also has a fuel card.
Who?
That man, you see.
I have just said that this is an engineer. And it is something very serious. That's why I want to thank you people.
How do you feel when you hear that you are using your own money for fuel and the engineer who sat next to you is giving a certain company 2 million shillings fuel from Kampala to Entebbe? How do you feel? And you're going to meet him again in the corridor.
I'm saying that this is the man who has been taking my money. If you gentlemen,
Chair, the budget for fuel is 800 million.
Excuse me, Chairman. Chairman, I'm basically a man who knows accountability and business and money. And I think as she interviewed me, she saw the Parliament of Uganda saw that I could do this job. But then these odd things have happened in my ministry, and I'm glad that this time let them be investigated. I don't want to take it long and waste your time about it. You have done a very good job to have called me here. But of late, when these things started being like this, like that, I started wanting to get a definition of an accounting officer and to what extent he can go to. So,
Chair,
Have you got it?
Chair,
No,
before
I'm
the
going to
minister
get it.
conclude,
Yeah.
before the minister conclude,
Is it a question? Is
no, I'm just trying to find out from him.
You have done today for protecting the Republic of Uganda and carrying out things as they are supposed to be done. And what they told me, and which is known, and which is known, is that I got an impression that an accounting officer is a supreme person in matters concerning accountability, in matters concerning procurement, in matters concerning finance, and he was an overall person. So I consulted my team of ministers, and to come to the point of the procurement of the renovation of the building, it was an ongoing process going to start. Either we stay in that building and renovate it, or we renovate that building. And all the figures were done, and it came up to reported to me that the best way was to renovate the building. As regards the hiring of other buildings, I'm one of the people who turned off, excuse me, as regards that issue of where to go, whether to hire buildings out, as chairman, you narrated the story, that people had to go on a market survey of where we might go. I only remember in our initial management meetings about this issue of shifting to another place, they brought up proposals either to go to Kingdom or to go to another building nearby our place. At the end of the day, I took my own initiative to say, we cannot go to Kingdom. There is a building called Kingdom, which was proposed. I said, the nature of our people who come to do a business with us are people from the rural area. And I said, that building is so magnificent, and after all, it is highly priced. I don't expect somebody who comes from Kayunga or from any part of this country coming to look for a Minister of Trade, either for a license, to find his way in that magnificent building. On that one, I said no. That is what I interfered in that building. And for the other one, Mulengera, I am told it is Honorable Mulengera, the one you mentioned. It was also found to be. So the decision of finally saying that we renovate, I had also to consult. I was told the permanent secretary in the president's office, by name of Mr. Kakande. Mr. Kakande, I consulted him, and he said, yeah, it is a better thing, you renovate the building, and it's all right. Now, about this story of environment, of supplementary, of everything,
maybe
my immediate minister...
Honorable Minister, sorry for renting Kingdom and King Caesar was not a good idea.
For the business we do.
For the business you do. And there has been a contentious issue because you seem to have participated in the decision-making. Maybe you can tell us how, as the head of the ministry, how you requested for supplementary to shift, and later you decided it is not a good idea
That's why I was telling you. I was coming, I had to consult my people who were experienced.
Why didn't you ask for money to renovate directly? Why did you ask for a supplementary to shift first?
As I said, my colleague ministers, as somebody has mentioned it, they were in the 10th Parliament. They know all this language. I told you that about environment, supplementary. She did not give me that test, the one who interviewed me as a member of Parliament, to go to the job of a ministry. But I had capability of knowing that the ministers I have knowledge about all that language you are talking about, whether it is asking for money, whether it's environment. But eventually, now I've known what it means after hearing all this case. But I had to ask Honorable Bahati, who was an expert. After all, he had been in the Ministry of Finance, and see to drive, after we had made a decision that we stay in that building, to drive for either environment. I didn't know about supplementary, but I came to know. I am not claiming now that I'm ignorant. So, and after doing that, when I understand the money was given by Parliament, then the money was handed over to what you said, of which I learned, and which is true, that the accounting officer is the permanent secretary for that business, for that type of activity. And I talked the permanent secretary who left. They were dealing about that issue, and the details of that, my minister knows. But then later on, when the new PS came in, about handover, about financial accountability and everything, I was not involved. And now coming very fast,
I think,
Chairman.
because we just wanted you to make comments, but you seem to have been involved. So the members, I think, want to know. They have just sent me a message here. An honorable member is asking, because we all appreciate renovation was a very good idea. I think everyone is in agreement. But the members also want to know, since you know that renovation was a good idea, why did the same ministry ask for money to shift? Then there have also been issues. How did you identify Kingdom and King Caesar? Because in my summary, I told you the former PS went there on a casual visit. With the procurement officer, they were together. So members were, this whole Kampala, how did you come to Kingdom and King Caesar's building? When there are many buildings, you can even do a market survey. You can, so they just, since you are saying you are involved, you are in the meeting.
No.
You said you sat in a meeting.
No, I did not sit in a meeting.
Okay.
When the idea of shifting to any other building generally came, the question of market survey or anything was known by the accounting officer and whoever was doing it. I was not in any way involved in looking for a building for doing that. Okay. But then when it was brought to light to me that they had gone and done a survey, which we are talking of, I don't know whether, in things in government, as I was interviewed, are all written down by statute. You can't change anything. Don't lead me to say that I was involved. I could never be involved because that was not my role. But then, at the end of the day, it came to my knowledge that renovating was the best order, and of which I had also thought of as a reasonable person. And from that time, the things were handed. They were first dealt with the first, as you narrated your story here, about what is happening. They were done by the previous permanent secretary, and when this permanent secretary took over, it still went on to say that everything is done by who? By an accounting officer. And the whole thing, which is here, anytime I had queried, as many people are saying here, that I'm not in control of all this, anytime I had to say anything about regarding or what you are mentioning out here, they would say it is not your job, it is the job of an accounting officer. And an accounting officer has nothing to be told to. It is only until recently.
The honorable member wants to just seek, but times, and the accounting officer who is the PS tells you it is not your job. Okay, now you can.
Yeah, that's the clarity I was seeking.
On this matter and this matter, I tried to advise her, and she told me it's not my job.
Yeah. What you are saying about, I'm now talking generally. You get what I'm telling you.
Regarding the issues you have had,
the one I have had here, like the engineer, I want to tell you the truth. This man, I see him in the corridors of the ministry. But when I want to talk about something, I go to the PS directly, and I say, what is happening about this? And as you said, Chairman, another thing I wanted to tell you of what you are leading to, of saying that I went up on the second issue I wanted to talk about, that I went up to the media. I went to the media, I was clearly heard. I said all these things talked about are matters of the accounting officer. And the accounting, I said, let him be interviewed, and be said, let him show the furniture, let him show everything. I was not trying to plead for him, as you have said.
What, was furniture supplied?
That's what I'm saying. When I on the interview, you heard me saying, I say, if he has got those things he has, then there is nothing wrong.
But has furniture ever been supplied to the ministry?
I have no idea. I have no idea. And then again about the cars, you have just said that I said I had a car.
Is the car you're driving new?
Chairman, I've been in many cars, I've bought so many cars, and I don't want to complain. They gave me a car, a government car, to do a job, and I sat in it and I started doing government work. The only thing which is mentioned, which I've just discovered today, is about what they call a fuel card. I want to tell you, if I am allowed to say things like this, you know, I hear sometimes.
You are allowed and you are protected.
I'm almost taking government to court or to law, because I've been spending my own money.
Yet people
now I've heard so many people have been taking in millions and so. I'm telling you, I've been using my own money.
So
I'm just compiling all this. You know, I'm a man who knows accountability about things. I want to ask government to pay me this money, regardless of anything, because I cannot be charged to do a job.
Chair.
Let him finish.
That's just to let him remember. The same engineer you have been meeting in the corridor, he also has a fuel card.
Who?
That man, you see.
I have just said that this is an engineer. And it is something very serious. That's why I want to thank you people.
How do you feel when you hear that you are using your own money for fuel and the engineer who sat next to you is giving a certain company 2 million shillings fuel from Kampala to Entebbe? How do you feel? And you're going to meet him again in the corridor.
I'm saying that this is the man who has been taking my money. If you, gentlemen,
Chair, the budget for fuel is 800 million.
Excuse me, Chairman. Chairman, I'm basically a man who knows accountability and business and money. And I think as she interviewed me, she saw, the Parliament of Uganda saw that I could do this job. But then, these odd things have happened in my ministry. And I'm glad that this time, let them be investigated. I don't want to take it long and waste your time about it. You have done a very good job to have called me here. But of late, when these things started being like this, like that, I started wanting to get a definition of an accounting officer and to what extent he can go to. So,
Chair,
have you got it?
Chair, before the minister conclude. Before the minister conclude.
Is it a question?
No, I'm just trying to find out from him.
Honorable Gume has been in that ministry for a very long time.
Honorable Chair, I want to thank you so much.
Honorable Gume has been in that ministry for a very long time.
Honorable Chair, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing, especially your oversight functions. I would also like to regret a few incidents that have happened without our knowledge, and your brief is an eye-opener. It's an eye-opener, and where possible, we shall rectify what went wrong, but also, you know, the procedures of government. There is policy and there is implementation, so each has a limit. For example, the issue of the fuel cards. For me, I've had the fuel card for the past 6 years in that ministry, and it has held. I remember when I met the committee last time, I have had a 1 million shillings fuel consumption per month for 6 years. You use it for 2 weeks and you start purchasing, like my minister is saying. Little did I know that the other fuel cards, so that's the eye-opener I'm talking about.
Chair, even the budget for fuel is 800 millions
Now,
for your ministry.
Can you imagine? So that is an area where we want to uphold the committee. Then, Chair and colleagues.
Honorable Minister, just some clarification. The person in charge of these fuel cards is your PA. Is this true?
The person, no, he started, I think, a year ago, but he hasn't been. And I've continued to get the fuel I've been getting.
But is your PA?
Yes.
Has he ever mentioned anything to do with this fuel going to the engineer?
No. Even the accountants, I didn't know that the accountants can have 300 million shillings on their account for fuel. I'm learning it from here. Then, honorable colleagues, suffice to note that all these colleagues of mine are new in the ministry. I was in the ministry, and you are aware the kind of structure we are talking about. I had an office, which I unfortunately left for Harriet in Tabas. I took off, I flee to former Werike's office. Why? Because we didn't have a minister for industry, but we had a minister for, state minister for trade. Now, what would happen is that I would shift quite often, and people would see me by the corridors, going into Honorable Werike's office for biological functions. Now, assuming that office was held by a lady. So, I discovered there was a problem. Then, two, we got a minister for industry on appointment. That meant that we needed an extra office. So he also joined us. In the process, the transition, because my colleagues lost elections, I was there, but I was also not sure I would be there. So I would like to assure you that we are competent. But in the process, I talked to the acting PS that now we have another minister. The structure, you've seen how we've been. Kindly see if you can do the needful. I ended at that, and I swifted. By the time Harriet came, I think they had installed the toilets in your offices. So, remember, I also have had an old car. I remember I reported to the committee for 6 years, and that car almost burnt me. It caught fire in the middle. You remember, those who were here, I reported to you. Then I said, you people, better a live rat than a dead lion. I would rather be a rat with my family than a dead lion. So I said, I park the car, and where possible, I can use a personal car. So, Mr. Chairman, do you need to ask me why I checked whether the car was new or old? The moment they gave me a new car, comfortable, I said, oh, here I am. God bless. What I can see is the car had the new polythene. I didn't check the mileage. I've started driving it. I've driven it for 2.5 years. On Honorable Mwebesa's...
Just some clarification.
Yes.
We are told your cars already have a huge bill at Wamuku.
Quite often, any vehicle can get spoiled.
New cars.
We take them for repairs, especially the rims. These cars are big, and the rims either jump off, she almost lost her life, or they break. It could not be either new or old, but the mode of car. Even now, you go to a rim, you put a tire, you see the rim breaking.
That bill I saw of Wamuko, is it only for rims?
I don't know, because when the vehicle gets spoiled, you tell the driver for repair, because we are still under guarantee. So they move. So, Honorable Chair.
Who gave you a guarantee for this vehicle? Because we have seen the contract.
No, we've not looked at the contract. Our role is when the car gets spoiled, you tell PS, my car is down. PA, my car is down, and they do the necessary arrangements. Then,
the other issue, Honorable Gume, you have been in that ministry longest. These are new
yes,
ministers.
yes.
Tell us the story of shifting to Kingdom and King Caesar's.
I was in office. My colleagues lost elections, Mr. Chairman. I seemed to have survived there alone. So I called the acting PS that there's a problem with these offices. One, the office space, because we have a new minister. Then the acting PS installed the toilets in those areas which were lacking, and all the 4 ministers had the accommodation, yes. Remember, I told you I shifted and went to Honorable Wike's office. Now, the shifting, and the renovation.
You tell us about shifting. That is where we need
shifting. I cannot commit myself that we said we shift. No.
But you had meetings as ministers.
We have ever met once with the Honorable Wike, with the Honorable Museveni in chair. And his statements are what he raised. And from there, it was so quick that we got a new PS and things started moving. You would see, for me, I wouldn't bother about the office accommodation. I've tolerated it for 6 years. So I continued doing my work. Then all of a sudden, people started renovating the offices.
But we have minutes where the issue of shifting was discussed.
Under Choda. The acting
Tell us
PS.
about that meeting.
The minutes, Choda briefed the meeting that she has asked for a supplementary. To renovate, needed the 25 billion. To shift, needed the 5 billion. Yes, renovation, I have those minutes, I hope they have given to you. Renovation needed 25 billion. Renting, 5. Now, my logic is, if you are renting at 5 per year for 5 years, that is 25 billion. If you are renovating once for maybe 10 billion, who is being effective? The problem was the law, the procedure, which is not our responsibility with these people. The procedure is the responsibility of the technical people. And when I came in to mention about this also, is when we had that 400 million shillings, that's the only minute we have now, had been used to transport books, files from the ministry to Entebbe. That's when I raised it, and it comes to his press conference. I'm sure I raised it, and I said the ministry, I think you must put right what we are reading in the press. Is it true that you used the 400 million shillings to shift? You remember it is minuted in a management meeting. You had better make a clarification on this. Then she said 53. I said you had better go and make a clarification because everybody is saying 400 million to SWIFT. That's how Honorable Museveni maybe quote it and use the 52
now, what do you think of this? Why do you pay people through fuel?
I'm also now getting surprised. Engineer, you have to explain to these people and carry your cross. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Tainting a bad picture to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, which seemed to be the heart of the economy. My name is Harriet Ntabaz again, the State Minister for Trade. I'm the most junior, I would say, minister because I found some of my colleagues had already been ministers, and the Honorable Mwebesa, being my senior minister, is also senior to me. I have listened very carefully to the report findings and the observations. And there is one thing that I wanted to start with. When I came to the ministry, I was the last person to enter that building because my office had problems, like my colleague has said. So they told me they were still working on my places of comfort and all that as a woman. And when I came in, we had no an arrangement of top management by that time. I attended, I would go to the minister of, the senior minister for 3 of us and the PS and agree on certain things. But top management idea was initiated by the Honorable Bati, later on being one of the senior ministers from those senior ministries, told us we cannot continue taking decisions of the ministry in a caucus. We must have a top management, an organ of the ministry. And really, I want to thank him before you that this was a brave idea, which was picked by my colleagues, and we started on top management. By that time, Chair and members, I found it was COVID time, and they told us that the ministry is operating only at 30% of staff. So the key technical officers, including the commissioners and maybe deputy assistant commissioners, were the ones who came to our eyes and our interaction. So the rest of these members of staff, like him, were not known to us. So I want to say that maybe this is because I've been seeing him, but I did not know his designation. I'm learning it from here because it's not part of the top management that we normally interact with. And I had, I think, less business with him being in the Ministry of Trade. My engineering part is not very, very important. I mean, it's not very important to my side. So I am seeing him for seriously as my staff today, but I've been seeing him around. For the issue of accountability, Chair, I want to thank you because when this money was, when I came to understand this money, as a new minister and very excited, when they told us that we were going to have a more further building and nice and what, King Caesar and King what, I thought it was a good idea. But later on, as the processes went on, there was change of administration. The other PS went out and another PS came in. So the rest of the details of changing from renting to renovation, I think since I wasn't the head of the ministry, I could not know the details. So that one I cannot explain because I just heard the noise in the building, and the building had started being renovated. And if you asked me who took the contract, who did what, I cannot explain because I'm not at that level of that decision making. The issue of my there is a challenge is put before you, Chair. Whenever there is a problem in the ministry, more especially repair of cars, fuel, I recently lost my life, the tire burst, and the rims went off and all that. The issue, the complaint has always been that our ministry has no money, and that the money that we normally get is less. 2.5 billion cannot run a whole ministry. So for us, we thought that was the case. We don't have money, there's no money, and what? I'm surprised to hear that we have money, and the fuel cards are holding up to a tune of 8 billion. Eh? 800 million for one card, for the whole ministry, including me. So I'm surprised because me, I had even to hand over my card to the officer in charge of transport.
Your senior minister is saying he wants a reimbursement, but we don't know how much he has spent on his. How much should they refund you?
It's not little, including my bodyguards' allowances and all these sort of things. It's not little, but what I'm putting, as I've just heard, as a by the way, as I said, my money is my money, but my job is also my job. I had to advance my money on the hope that my employer, which is government and which is you people, is there a way I can get reimbursement of the money which I've spent generally?
Maybe you tell us how much you have spent on this fuel.
No, I will give you the details here. I will give you a minute. If I can get a reimbursement and where you know the money is. No, please remember. Chairman, I beg you.
We shall look into those matters.
No, Chairman, I beg you. It's a serious matter. I
think if you establish how much, we can see how to handle it.
Maintain my job.
It's a serious matter indeed.
So I wanted to conclude, Chair.
From Madiokolo District. That's a quick one, that Honorable Minister Bahati initiated a top management kind of idea at the ministry. Would you really clarify that not even at one point, to your knowledge, in the top management meeting, that the idea of moving away from renting to renovation was really brought to the top management meeting, because that is the apex? At one point, was that idea brought or shared with you or not?
Officially in the top management, I cannot say yes because I don't have that minute. But I heard about it. And I thought it was maybe a decision taken. Like you had my senior say, he heard about it. So we thought it was a good idea also financially, but I did not sit in a meeting like this and decide on it. So that one, I can answer it like that. But I heard about it. Now, in this top management, when the queries started, we got concerned. And we requested for this information. We said, we need this information. There is a lot of things going on in the media. We need to clear our house. What is happening? Now, the details of that record we've not yet received because we had requested it from the PS and head of technical service together with the teams that were involved, but we've not yet gotten the breakdown of how much was used for what and when, and the companies and the names and all those. Because if the engineer himself cannot remember the companies, then I could not really be the one to remember because I was not told. So we have we were still waiting for that information to reach us so that now we can come to the media, either to Parliament when asked, and clear the air. But to tell the truth, there is no fight between any of us. Our duty as ministers one of them is to supervise. In our way of supervision, when I ask for information, and I tell that maybe why this one is not coming clear is maybe we did not follow the PPDA, or maybe we would not follow the right what? Procedure. Did we do that? That's not a quarrel. So for the media to capture that maybe there is a fight between this one and that, really, I've never, for example, me, I've never fought with my PS. I've never fought with any technical staff. But sometimes we can disagree on principle and say, if this one was followed like this, it would be better. And then they guide like this. We are the accounting officers. We know this procedure very well.
Okay.
So that one is cleared. There is no fight. I've never fought with Bati. I've never fought with, so if there is a fight, maybe somewhere, but a disagreement maybe on the procedure, that one can happen because not all people think the same. Okay. So, Chair, I think that is me.
Honorable Kayemba has just some.
Yeah, before she concludes, you getting for fuel per month? You as a minister.
I've taken time without getting fuel, and I don't know, the last month I got fuel because I had even handed over my card back to the transport officer. Not until last 2 weeks when they put 2 million. After a long period. So I don't know how much I'm supposed to get per month. Like my colleague is getting 1 million per month. Me, I don't get it.
When did you stop? When did you stop getting? Which month did you stop getting fuel? And how much were you receiving at that time?
There is one time they put for us something like 4 million, and it took us for some time. But I cannot get that record since I'm not the driver. My card was given to the driver, and he's the one. When I fail to get, when I hear him ask, we don't have fuel, that's when I realize that the card has no fuel. But for sure, my driver controls the card. I gave him that opportunity. But I don't think for the last 3-4 months, I've been buying the fuel from my own pocket.